Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. I am Anime Tool, and as you can probably tell, it is Sunday, and you know what that means. It means another deck profile. Now, previously you've seen my Karibo deck profile, my Flower Guardian deck profile, and today we are going to be okay. We are going over my okay. Put that aside. All right, so today we are going over my Pendulum Magician deck profile. Now, a lot of people like Pendulum Magician. It's been, like, in past years, it's been topping at a lot of regionals because of their varying effects. Okay, so I think we should start off. Now, starting off, I run one Archfiend Eccentric. Now, for this deck, this is a good. I like this card because besides a scale 7, it is also 3 star. It's also a when it's in your monster zone, you can easily tribute it to destroy one face-up monster on your opponent's side of the field, but if it's in your Pendulum zone, you can tribute it and destroy one spell trap your opponent controls. Yeah. So it's easy. It's really good, like, monster spell trap destruction. Then starting off, I run 3 Astrograph Sorcerers. Astrograph Sorcerer is a 7-star dark spellcaster with 2500 attack, 2000 defense, scale 1. Its Pendulum effect is mainly for tributing it to bring out a Stargazer Magician, which I don't really use. So I tend to use the secondary effect for if a monster I control would be. No, not even a monster. If a card I control is destroyed by battle or card effect, I can special summon this card and then special summon. It is a special summon. Special summon one monster with the same name from my deck, I think. Choose one monster in your graveyard extra deck or that is banished that was destroyed this turn. Add the same to your hand. Okay, so it's not special summon, it's just adding to your hand one of the monsters that was destroyed. So say, yeah, we'll get back. Yeah, nice attack points as well as a special summon effect. Moving on, I run 3 Black Fang Magicians. Black Fang Magician is dark level 4 spellcaster, 17,800. Pendulum effect. Once per turn, I can target one face-up monster my opponent controls. And I can half the attack of that targeted monster until the end of the turn. Then, after that, I destroy this monster while it's in the Pendulum zone. But also, if this card is destroyed by battle or card effect, that means it's also its own card effect. I can target one dark spellcaster in the graveyard and special summon it. So yeah, basically, remember, whenever a Pendulum monster is in the monster zone or Pendulum zone and is destroyed, it goes face up extra deck. So if I have a dark spellcaster in my graveyard and this card is destroyed by its own effect or by another monster or card effect, I can special summon a dark spellcaster in my graveyard. Next I run 3 double Iris Magicians. Now the effect is, if this card's in the Pendulum zone, once per turn I can target a dark spellcaster I control, and whatever battle damage I do to my opponent is doubled during that battle. Also, it doesn't increase the attack or defensive or lower the attack of any monster on the field, just doubles damage. Also, its effective is but after that effect activates, destroy it. And just like Black Fang, as an effective once destroyed, I can search one Pendulum Graph card from my deck and add to my hand. Yeah. Also, this card is always treated as a Pendulum Dragon. Yeah. Just like how with I forgot to go over that, but with Black Fang is also always treated as an Xyz dragon. Now moving on, I run 2 Dragon Pit Magicians. Level 7 Spellcaster, Water, Attribute, 900 attack, 2700 defense. Great. Like, it's a good wall. It's a normal monster. And its Pendulum effect once per turn. If I have a Magician card in my other Pendulum zone, I can discard 1 Pendulum monster and then destroy a spell trap on the field. So it's great spell trap removal. Then going along with that I like doing a combo for is Dragon Pulse Magician. Just like Dragon Pit, it's a normal Pendulum. This one has 800 attack, 19 defense, Earth level 4, scale 1, so it goes with scale 8 Dragon Pit. Similar effect, if I have a Magician in my other Pendulum zone, I can discard a Pendulum monster and destroy 1 face-up monster on the field. So yeah, great working side by side. Next I run 1 Harmonizing Magician, level 4 Dark Spellcaster Tuner monster. Scale 8, when it's in the Pendulum zone, all monsters I control gain under attack and defense for every face-up Magician Pendulum monster with a different name in the extra deck, so if you probably knows, there's a lot of Magicians, so this is great for like late game, I think. That way increase, but it's not just 100, but it's mainly used for, I mainly use it for its monster effect. Can't be special summon from the extra deck, cannot be used for any type of summoning except if the other monsters used are, yeah, Magician, Pendulum monsters, and yeah, good level 4 tuner monster, and then it's banished when it leaves the field. Next, moving on, I run 1 Oath Dragon Magician. Yeah, that's a level 6 Wind Attribute Spellcaster monster. 2100 attack, 1400 defense. Its normal effect. This is normal summon or special summon. I can target a Magician, Pendulum monster, or Odd Eyes monster in my graveyard, except itself, and add it to my hand. Only use it once per turn. And then its Pendulum effect. If I have a Magician in my other Pendulum zone, I can add 1 face-up Magician or Odd Eyes Pendulum monster from my extra deck and add to my hand except for itself. Yeah, so mainly used for retrieving monsters. Now moving on to the main searcher of the deck is 1 Performer Pal Skull Combat Joker. This one, once normal summoned, level 4 Spellcaster, once normal summoned, I can add 1 Performer Pal monster, Magician Pendulum monster, or Odd Eyes monster from my deck and add it to my hand. Its Pendulum effect is the Pendulum summon. I cannot Pendulum summon except for Performer Pal, Odd Eyes, Magician Pendulum monsters, and the summons cannot be negated. So yeah. Moving on is 1 Performer Pal Trump Girl. This card is great for this card basically takes place of polymerization. So once per turn, I can fusion summon 1 fusion monster from my extra deck with using other monsters I control, and this card included. Also, yeah, sorry, I'm just okay. Yeah. If this card is in your yeah. This card can basically be used as polymerization instead of the card polymerization. Also, if it's destroyed while in the Pendulum zone, I can special summon a Dragon Fusion from my graveyard, but it's destroyed at the end phase. And speaking of fusion dragons, 3 Purple Poison Magicians. This card's always treated as a Fusion Dragon card. Also, once per turn, before battle calculation while in the Pendulum Zone, this one Dark Spellcaster I control gains 1200 attack until the end of the damage step, and then I destroy this card. But when this card is destroyed, I can target one face-up monster on the field and destroy it. So yeah, this is great monster destruction effects. Then also one Rescue Hamster. This card is great for retrieving more revival. So I can banish it from say I set in my Pendulum Zone, I can banish it and then banish it from my Pendulum Zone, then I can add 2 Pendulum monsters with the same name from my extra deck to my hand. Monster effect basically the same thing but from graveyard. Next up I run one Timebreaker Magician. Its pendulum effect is each time pendulum summon monsters you control, the first pendulum summoned monster cannot be now each turn the first pendulum monsters you control cannot be destroyed by a card effect. And when this card is pendulum summoned from the hand alone, so just bringing it out by itself, you can double its attack. Also, you can banish both this card and the opponent's, and you can target one monster your opponent controls, banish both this card and that card until your next standby phase. So it's very similar to a Sigh Frame Lord Zeta, in my opinion. I think it's like an easier card to bring out than Zeta. Next up is one White Wing Magician. Once per turn, this can basically, if a opponent targets a Dark Spellcaster you control, negate the activation and destroy this. If this ends its monster effect, it's always treated as a Synchro Dragon. If this pendulum summoned card is used for Synchro Summon, banish it. So yeah, no retrieving it once banished, except for like Burial from another dimension. Next up, 2 Wisdom Eye Magicians. So if this card is in your Pendulum Zone, you can use it to, you can tribute it to take a Magician from your deck and put it in your Pendulum Zone. Also, its monster effect, you can discard this card, then target one monster in your Pendulum Zone who has a different pendulum scale than its original, and then you can just make it its original scale again. So yeah, nice for searching out more pendulum monsters. Next, finishing up the last monster I control that I use is one Hypnosister. It's a 4-star 1 attribute psychic monster with 1300 attack and 1400 defense. It gains effects based off of the number of monsters in the pendulum scales. So 1 or more gains 800 attack and defense. 2 or more, if I battle a pendulum summoned monster, that monster is destroyed. Then 3 or more your opponent's monsters have to attack this card if able. 4 or more, if this card destroys a monster by battle, draw a card. So yeah, that does it for my monsters. Next up is spells, so I run one Amazing Pendulum. Basically, if I have no cards in my Pendulum Zone, I can add 2 Face-Up Magician Pendulum monsters with different names from my extra deck to my hand. I can only activate it once per turn. Next is one Pendulum Call. I discard card, then add 2 Magician Pendulum monsters with different names from my deck to my hand. Until the end of my opponent's next turn, When this card resolves, magician cards in my pendulum zones cannot be destroyed by card effects. Yeah. Next up is I run one Pendulum Storm. Destroy as many cards in each player's pendulum zones as possible. Then I can target one spell trap on my opponent controls and destroy it. So again, good spell trap removal, as well as activating the effects of other Pendulum Magicians such as Purple Poison, Double Iris, and Black Fang. Next up is one Summoner's Art. I can target one level 5 or higher normal monster from my deck and add to my hand, such as the only target for this is the Dragon Pit Magician. Next up, I run 3 Star Pendulum Graphs. Continuous spell. An opponent cannot target spellcaster monsters I control with spell cards or effects. If a face-up pendulum monster would to leave the field or would to leave the monster or pendulum zone, I can add one magician pendulum monster from my deck to my hand. Yeah. Now moving on to traps is one Pendulum Reborn. I can special summon one face-up pendulum magician from pendulum monster from my extra deck, or one pendulum monster from my graveyard. Yeah. Just pretty much like Monster Reborn, except it's a trap card and only targets pendulum monsters. Next up is one Unwavering Bond. This can basically just negate the activation of a pendulum monster's effect your opponent controls and then banish the target. It is also a card that, considering if I go against pendulums, this is a great card to use, as well as a discarding card. So in case I need to discard it for other effects, I can. Next up is Echo Oscillation. Continuous trap card. I can target one monster from a pendulum zone, destroy it, and then draw a card. And I can only use it once per turn. So yeah, great for activating the destruction effects of pendulum monsters as well as for drawing draw power. Finishing up the traps, I run 3 Time Pendulum Graphs. Continuous trap card. This card, opponents cannot target spellcaster I control with trap cards or effects. Yeah, once per turn I can target one card my opponent controls and one pendulum magician pendulum monster I control and destroy both. But if for some reason I don't destroy both, I can send one card on the field to the graveyard. So yeah, good trap card for destruction. Then moving on to the extra deck, I run one Starving Venom Dragon. Starving Venom Fusion Dragon. When this card is fusion summoned, you have to use 2 dark monsters on the field except tokens, so that's the main reason why I run the Trump Girl, to use it as the fusion material. So use this card, and good number of other monsters in this deck are dark, so you can easily bring that monster out. When this monster is fusion summoned, target one special summon monster your opponent controls. This card gains attack equal to that monster's attack. And then once per turn, I can basically make my fusion dragon any level 5 or higher monster your opponent controls, replace this effect with that monster's effect, so on and so forth. So yeah. Then next I run one Enlightenment Paladin. Level 8 Synchro. Yeah. If this card is fusion summoned using Magician Pendulum Monster as material, I can target one spell card in my graveyard and add it to my hand. As well as this, if this monster destroys an opponent's monster by battle, you can inflict the damage of said destroyed monster's attack points to your opponent. So it's great for destroying as well as some burn damage. Next up, I run one Dark Rebellion Xyz Dragon. Effective symbol, just 2 level 4 monsters, 2500 attack points, 2000 defense. I can detach 2 materials from this card, then target one face-up monster my opponent controls, half the attack of that monster, and this monster gains, and Dark Rebellion gains the lost attack of that monster. Yeah. So then moving on to the last monsters in the extra deck, I run 3 Time Star Magicians. Time Star requires 2 level 4 Magician Pendulum monsters, which there's a lot of them in here. And then it can only be summoned using the above materials. And if a face-up Dark Spellcaster monster I control would be destroyed, I can send a Spellcaster from my deck to the graveyard instead, as well as if I can send one unit to... I can use one Xyz unit to one material to add a Dark Spellcaster from my graveyard add to my hand. So yeah, that's for that effect. So guys, I hope that does it for this deck profile. I hope you guys enjoyed the profile of my Pendulum Magician. If you have any, if you have one, if you have your own deck of your own, leave a comment down below. Something like stuff that you run differently than me. Also, if you're new, why not subscribe? That way you're notified for every deck profile, because you should expect a deck profile every Sunday from now on, until further notice. Alright? Well, I am Anime Tour, and I will see you all next time. Bye!